Hey folks, so in this video we're going to talk about some tips and tricks you can use if you are learning Portuguese by yourself or if you decide to join our class that we're doing. Again, this year we're doing Intro to Portuguese and would love to have you there, but we brought our instructor on today and she's going to join us just to give you some tips whether you decide to learn by yourself or if you're doing some type of formal thing just to help you, get into it. So for many of you, I've moved to Portugal about 2 years ago, and I lived in Lisbon city center for the first year. I didn't make much attempt to learn the language. And then this year, my second year, I moved about, 20, 25 minutes outside of the city and definitely needed to learn the language. And Ines has just been instrumental to many of us here to help us get the language. And we've been learning together for the past year, and it's been awesome. So let me just tell you before we bring Ines on just what the class will entail. You can click the link in the bottom of the description box to give you more information on the class. This is the landing page that you'll see, and it'll have reviews of folks who have taken the class specifically with Ines and their experience. And so I'm going to bring Ines on. Hi, Ines. How are you?
Hi, pretty good. How are you?
Doing well. So Ines has been our Portuguese instructor for the past 12 weeks, which has extended, also become one of my friends here in Portugal, and she's just been super instrumental. So she's going to give us some tips. I'm going to ask her some questions, and hopefully it will help you kind of gauge how to work your language learning process if you are trying to learn European Portuguese. So thanks for joining me, Inez.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So first of all, I have to say the great thing about Inez is that she was super, super patient with us. There are what 15, 20 grown people in a class together. And the thing that I really liked, I think the one thing for adult learners, I think that, and we'll talk about that later, what makes it so difficult is particularly if you're one of those people who are trying to be a perfectionist or think you're supposed to be great at everything and you're not taking things lightheartedly in regards to language learning, you get anxious because it's a new skill or a new thing that you're learning and you may not be great at it, and that tends to make us like not want to say anything. But Inez, you do such a great job of encouraging us even if we sound like crazy. So totally appreciate you being wonderful and not trying to shut us down. And I just think it's a really great learning experience with you. But have some questions. If someone is learning a new language for the first time, how do you think they should prepare?
So first of all, taking what you said about being patient with yourself, that's the key, especially when you're learning Portuguese from Portugal, especially. Of all the languages, Portuguese from Portugal, European Portuguese is quite hard to learn. It's considered one of the hardest languages to learn. So the key is just patience, patience, patience. I mean, you're not supposed to learn a language in a week or two, or even a month, or even 2 months. You're supposed to learn the basics and be extra, extra patient with yourself. That's one of the main keys to learn a new language. That's the base. Secondly, I would really recommend to explore the similarities between your own language and the language you're trying to learn. This way, this new language you're trying to learn doesn't sound or look as foreigner as it would if you wouldn't build a bridge between the two languages. So, this is normally what I recommend doing. I really recommend people exploring like similarities between your own language and the language you're trying to learn. Another thing would be to listen to the music of the language that you are trying to learn. So, in Portuguese case, listening to fado is one really good thing that you can do, or maybe less traditional music. There's a lot of good Portuguese music, and this can get you on to listening to Portuguese as much as you can, or even radio shows, or a couple of movies. Listen to Portuguese as much as you can.
And is there a drastic difference between, I feel like it is, but that's because my Portuguese is I'm still learning, between Brazilian Portuguese and European Portuguese?
It's more of the pronunciation kind of thing, because the pronunciation is quite different. And of course, there are some words that are different. Some words have different meaning in Portuguese and in Brazilian. But in my opinion, it's more about the pronunciation. So it's like it's more about the understanding skills and the speaking skills as well. But sometimes when you listen to Brazilian, it sounds one thing, and when you listen to Portuguese from Portugal, it sounds another thing. So that's the main difference, I would say. Also, slight differences, the sin, like we saw this in our course, there are some grammatical changes,
Mm-hmm.
some grammar changes that happen when speaking European Portuguese relating to Brazil. Um, so there's slight changes in the grammar, but I would say the pronunciation is the one that's the most different.
Awesome. And so they say, well, this is was one of my concerns. Many of you know I'm over 40. So when it came to learning a new language, I was really nervous because I took Spanish in high school. Did I take? I can't even remember if I took it in college. And I have like a toddler level of Spanish. So I was really concerned that it would just be difficult. And you hear that, like, kids learn languages so much easier. So, what are your thoughts about that for people who are
Mm.
not children learning a foreign language?
Well, children have no expectations, Cinnamon. So it's like this is one of the main things because kids are more patient when they are learning it. And when they fail, they don't care, they fail and they just laugh at it. Whereas adults, we kind of expect to know everything. So I would say that that's the main challenge with teaching adults. It's like to tell them it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to kind of be a kid again. It's okay not to know everything. Um, I think that's the main thing to retain for grown-ups. It's that. I've taught a lot of people that are over 40, over 50, over 60 even, and they know how to speak Portuguese nowadays. And it has nothing to do with age. It's just about patience and persistence, and not giving up, and risking your self-embarrassment. I mean, if you don't really know a language and you're forced to speak it, chances are a couple of times people won't understand what you're saying, but being okay with that, being okay with making mistakes and just laughing out of it. I think that's the main key.
I will say that I think Portugal specifically, because you know how you'll go to some countries and if you don't speak, I feel like France is like this. If you don't speak the language, like people, Parisans particularly, if you don't speak the language, sometimes people aren't as, kind about messing up and that type of thing. And I feel like even in the States, there's people screaming, speak English. But I will say in Portugal, people are super gracious. And when you mess up, they try to help you and work with you. And I would say if there's any place to learn a new language and have to practice it, Portugal makes it great. So for people who are doing self-study, and just to remind you guys, we do have the class coming up October 5th. Be sure to register. We have 20 seats, max 20 seats available. So once it fills up, we're sold out. We're done. So sign up so you can get the class October 5th. But for those people who are doing self-study, who don't sign up to our class and just want to learn themselves, besides the language, I know some people use some of the language apps. I've tried the language apps, and when it came to actually putting those words in place, it wasn't that helpful for me. But what are some of your things other than like if you're doing self study, other than like apps? What would you say?
So in this case, I really recommend that you find yourself a group to study with and practice with each other. It makes all the difference to have like a community, which is one of the great things about the course that you created here. Is that you have the community and you have the study halls. So even if you are doing some self study, just please be sure that you find a group of people that are kind of learning the same thing as you, so that you can practice together and drill sentences and words, specific situations in everyday life. So that's one of the things I really, really, really recommend. Other than listening to Portuguese, of course, in radio, movies, music, etc. But the community aspect is super, super important.
I agree. I've told you guys my language story, my process. I gave you a whole video on how I struggle and that type of thing. So I definitely feel like the community is super helpful. And also, like when you're learning a new language, particularly for those of you who are still in the States, you may not have anyone to talk with. And so that's the good thing about doing this with 20 other
Mm,
people all across the world is that we also break up in time zones so you can have even smaller study groups with other people in your time zone so that you'll have someone to actually speak Portuguese with because I think that is the thing that makes it harder. Like if you're learning and then you're never using it and you're living in the States and you're not saying it at all, like it's really going to be a struggle, in my opinion. So, what are some things you think students should prepare for just to be on the right footing when they start?
Well, be prepared to make a lot of mistakes. Be prepared, and be extra patient with yourself. Again, patience is the key. Also, not expecting to know everything at first, but being, like starting slow. And we always start by building a bridge between the two languages. So just make sure that you come with that mindset of, okay, it's okay if I don't know everything, but let's just take baby steps, one step at a time. And step by step, we just make a sentence, and step by step we just make a whole conversation. So just bring that mindset, just bring that yeah, that idea behind it. Don't expect to know everything at first, and just be extra patient with yourself. And who knows, you may end up by loving Portuguese language like you do now, Cinnamon. You're a Portuguese language lover now. I know you are. I know you are.
I will say
You
this.
love Portuguese.
I
You
think
love Portuguese.
I do. I do. I think your approach with the taking, and this specific class that we're doing, and it's just taking people who speak English specifically as a first language and then helping them with Portuguese. And I think the difference for me in this class versus the various other times I've attempted is that she finds words that are similar in English to help us get our pronunciation correct. And that has been super, super, super helpful. So whether you take the class, with us or with the group or independently, I think kind of finding out those types of tips to understand which words in English sound similar to the words in Portuguese so that it can help our brain like better understand it. So I would say that was
Yeah,
really the first time
definitely.
working with you that I got that together.
Hey, we went to a cafe and you ordered stuff in Portuguese. I was so proud.
It was
I
very,
was so proud.
very little things I ordered. It wasn't like, but I did order.
At least you'll be able to order food. If you have my class, you'll be able to order food, you'll be able to order coffee and wine. That's one very important thing everybody made pretty clear in our class. They all wanted to know how to ask for wine, how to ask for food, how to ask for coffee. Those are the three main things everybody wanted to know. And I made sure this part was covered.
One of the things that I found to be helpful is kind of developing your own script based on the certain things that are important to you in regards to what you do in your everyday life. So I had my grocery store script. I had my Uber script. When I'm talking to the Uber driver, they typically ask the same things. Where are you from? How do you like Portugal? That type of thing. So I kind of developed that, and that came from Barbara. I feel like Barbara in our class was, and if you're watching, Barbara, hey Barbara, Barbara gave me that tip because she said Barbara has dogs.
Yeah, I remember.
She has dogs here in Portugal, and she said that when she's bringing her dogs, they typically ask the same thing, what kind of dog is it, and all that, and so she's memorized, what to say, and I think those type of things of how to apply Portuguese in your day-to-day life is going to help you retain it. So definitely think about that. Definitely consider how you can put those types of scripts together for your everyday life. And I feel like it takes away the anxiety a little bit.
Definitely. Definitely. And then you're just able to practice your pronunciation and, and being able to practice while you're nervous because it is nerve-wracking to speak a different language, and you're not fluent. So you're afraid you're making a mistake, you're afraid you're making a fool out of yourself. So it's super, super important to practice as much as you can. And that's a great one, the scripts. I forgot that one. Yeah, I think it was Barbara. Yeah, she
Mhm.
gave us that idea. And it's
Mhm.
it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. It allows you to practice as much as you can and step by step, step by step. First week you're nervous, second week kind of, third week you're a professional in that script. And you can move on to
Professional
the next one.
Eunice. So, folks, I just wanted to share a little bit with you. I wanted to introduce you to Inej. And throughout the week or the next couple of days, you'll hear some feedback from some of my classmates and their experience learning Portuguese, both here who live in Portugal, also some of my new friends and classmates that have taken the class and who still live in the States currently. So, just want to remind you that we are starting October 5th is the deadline, and you can go to learn.drivenspice.com, or you can click the link in the description to go ahead and register. If you have any questions, there's a Q&A at the bottom of the page. They'll probably answer most of your questions. And yeah, so hope to see you and join you on your language of Portuguese learning journey. Inej, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to teach this with you.
All right, so till next time, guys, we will see you in the next video. And if you have any questions or comments, you know the routine, just go ahead and put them below this video. Till next time.